mediocre season has gave us the question what the W15 will look like to actually fight for championships. Lewis Hamilton was just recently asked, as for the challenge for titles next season, can they do it? He says, "This is a world championship team. We are still an amazing team and I have absolutely faith in everyone. But decisions that are made in this period of time are critical for our trajectory." And I completely agree upon that. And now with some actual leaked information from somebody that is very reliable in the Mercedes camp, and really if it's anything to do with British drivers, Ted Kravitz is your guy, and he talks about what this new concept can look like. The actual W15, what should we expect? The W14 car has lacked in a lot of areas, but it's weirdly enough kind of like swayed its strengths throughout the season. At some point, this car was extremely strong in high-speed corners. The W13 and the beginning of the season W14 were very strong in high-speed corners. Hence why in Spain they were very powerful. But with recent changes, especially in the front wing, Mercedes have gone on to actually now be stronger in slow-speed corners. And the car is a little bit of a mixed bag. You don't really know what you are getting with this car. So with some certain tests and having a floor that was installed in Monaco and still to this day, they are now changing it in Circuit of the Americas. That floor upgrade will be crucial, and with no real information on it, I have an idea of what it might look like and why it will make a lot more sense for the next coming car and how this is all intertwined with their new concept. Right before I go into speaking about the new concept, thank you so much for the support on the channel. It has genuinely meant the world, and we are so close to 10,000. So please hit that subscribe if you haven't, hit that like, and hit that notification bell. It means the world. You guys are the best. Let's get into the new W15 car. All right, so talking about the W15, there are three big things I want to get into for this car. So if you haven't guessed it already, they're going down the Red Bull concept. But what does this mean for them going into that concept? Because everybody talks about it. No, it's not the side pods. It's not even the undercut in the side pods. It's really to do with the actual front suspension, rear suspension, and the floor of the car. But in what ways are they similar and what do they need to change? Well, in Monaco, the Mercedes car actually introduced a little bit of anti-dive on their car. What anti-dive is the way that the actual geometry on the suspension, so how the upper wishbones are set up, helps with the car gaining downforce in braking. The front suspension is what is key for that. You're able to brake a lot harder. It does sometimes have some drawbacks, which you can kind of see with Red Bull. I mean, very rarely, but I mean, Mercedes has that issue with warming up tires. So sometimes the tires start off cold, but guess what? It means that you can actually make them last a lot longer and your braking is a lot harder. Another part of the suspension is the rear suspension, and that is anti-squat. What does anti-squat do? Yet again, it's also another suspension setup to where the way that the wishbones are set up into it help the car in high speed corners and lowering the car, so also straight line speed if optimal. Now, anti-squat is something that is not introduced onto the car, not to the level that Red Bull have it to. It's why they're so strong in high speed corners, and Mercedes just isn't there yet. Like we just saw in Japan, that in Sector 1, they were like 6/10 off of Red Bull. Now, not every track has that S formation, but that is key to really a Formula 1 car. If you can't go fast in high-speed corners, essentially your car will never be fast. The Red Bull car lacked it a lot between practically 2017 to 2021, except for in 2021 when they nailed it and were on the level of Mercedes. With they nerfed that happened to Mercedes. The car was always pretty slow in high speed. It was a great low to medium speed car, but the Mercedes, with its car and setup with the low rake, was actually super fast in the high speed corners and always had that advantage onto Red Bull. But now with the introduction of that, gaining downforce in the rear and the front, what's left? They need a different floor concept, because Mercedes' floor concept is a lot different to Red Bull's. Why is it different? Well, if you look at the Venturi tunnels on the cars, specifically for Mercedes and Red Bull, they're a lot shorter on the Mercedes car, they're a lot longer on the Red Bull car. Now, obviously there's a couple of different things too towards the back of it with the diffuser and the kicks in the car. These are all other setups that go with the Red Bull concept, and the Mercedes concept is just a bit different. The focus of the car for the no side pod design was the upper floor element, having more floor open to have really the drag or the air through the car go straight through the floor and really pick up most of its downforce there. As for the Red Bull, they focus a lot on the underfloor, and that is really where they got a grasp of what important downforce is and having a lot less drag. Obviously, the upper floor is still important, but Mercedes went to a bigger extent and kind of screwed themselves for the 2023 season. This is kind of why they're in that standstill. They also have that really weird front structure to their car, which they can't change right now because that's kind of what was part of the chassis. And they need to change that because now the side pod concept is almost like an overcut. It makes it very odd for the car. Their undercut isn't as efficient with this car, and a lot of changes that were implemented into the car are trying to fix this, but it's hard to fix something that's kind of permanently stuck to the car as of right now. But bringing this new Venturi tunnel system to their floor, and maybe looking off of the Monaco floor, they can pick up and be a lot stronger in the 2024 season. Obviously, they have to take a step and look at McLaren. Even Hamilton talks about it. When you look at McLaren, when you see what they have done with the exact same concept that Red Bull have, look at where their car started the season and where they're at now. In my opinion, they're the favorites for 2024 to challenge Red Bull. They really are a super strong car there. Mercedes is a top team and they've been doing it for a lot of years, so your mind always wants you to shift towards a Mercedes team as to thinking they can do it, they can step up, they can be there again. And while I do believe that, they gotta take really big steps, and as Lewis Hamilton says, it's critical for them to move now. He's made a lot of comments saying that the car isn't to his level, it's not to what he wants in a car, and it just isn't working how a Formula 1 car that he's been driving for very long is working. It doesn't drive to the same style that Max does, but this new car, we've already talked about it before, the cockpit, the position of everything is just odd in the car. The concept they started with was not right. So now they're changing it up, going into 2024, and hitting that point of getting to the Red Bull concept. I guess it's time that every other team is shifting to it. How the side pods could look, we don't know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the actual structure of the car from the outside will look like that. Look into the front suspension, the rear suspension, and the floor. That'll be the key emphasis of where Mercedes is really picking up on the Red Bull concept. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe, it would mean the world, and peace.